Hello everyone, and welcome back to our channel. If you're passionate about justice, politics, and current events shaping South Africa and the world, you're in the right place. Today, we're taking a deep dive into a controversial and emotionally charged story that unfolded during one of South Africa's most iconic sporting events, the Comrades Marathon. But this year's race wasn't just about endurance and personal triumph. It became the stage for a powerful protest led by the economic freedom fighters, the EFF, in KwaZulu-Natal. And the issue at hand: the participation of Israeli athletes amid ongoing global outrage over the war in Gaza. Grab a cup of tea, because we're unpacking the politics, the protest, and the powerful message behind it all. On Sunday, while thousands of runners were pushing their physical limits on the ultramarathon route from Pietermaritzburg to Durban, a different kind of message was being pushed on the sidelines. Members of the EFF, dressed in their trademark red regalia, gathered with placards bearing phrases like "Stop the Genocide," joining hands with concerned members of the Muslim community. Their collective message was clear: they were protesting the presence of Israeli runners in the race, calling it an insult to international solidarity and a betrayal of South Africa's foreign policy stance. Mongezi Twala, the provincial chairperson of the EFF in KwaZulu-Natal, was unequivocal in his statement. According to him, the participation of Israeli nationals in the Comrades Marathon, a race rooted in the history of South Africa's own struggle, was unacceptable. Twala argued that allowing representatives of what he described as a genocidal apartheid state to run through the streets of KwaZulu-Natal sends the wrong message, especially during a time when the Israeli government stands accused of war crimes and crimes against humanity in Gaza. And Twala isn't alone in this view. He pointed out that the South African government, through the Department of International Relations and Cooperation, or DIRCO, took Israel to the International Court of Justice. That case, initiated by South Africa, accuses Israel of committing acts of genocide against Palestinians. In January 2024, the ICJ found that South Africa had presented a plausible case, and it ordered Israel to take immediate steps to prevent genocidal acts. That ruling wasn't just a symbolic win, it was a legal and diplomatic milestone in South Africa's ongoing support for Palestine. So, how does this all tie into the Comrades Marathon? For the EFF, the connection is painfully obvious. Twala stated that the presence of Israeli athletes on South African soil during such a crisis, and especially in an event so steeped in historical symbolism, was not just tone-deaf, but morally indefensible. He went as far as saying that it was a spit in the face of Palestinians and anyone committed to global justice. Now, let's step back and reflect on the significance of the Comrades Marathon itself. This isn't just another sporting event. Born in the aftermath of World War I, the marathon has always represented resilience, sacrifice, and the triumph of the human spirit. It has grown into a massive national event that brings together people from all walks of life. For many South Africans, it's more than a race, it's a moment of collective identity. And that, the EFF argues, makes it the wrong place for any participation by representatives of a state accused of ethnic cleansing. But the protest also touches on deeper ideological fault lines in South Africa's political landscape. Twala's remarks reminded the public that the EFF is not simply acting out of impulse or populist theatrics. He framed the protest as part of the EFF's long-standing commitment to international solidarity, linking the Palestinian cause directly to South Africa's own anti-apartheid struggle. The EFF sees Israeli policies in Gaza and the West Bank not merely as harsh, but as fundamentally colonial and racist, and therefore akin to what South Africans endured under apartheid. Twala also called on the Comrades Marathon Association to urgently review and rescind any accepted entries from Israeli athletes. He emphasized that while the EFF respects international sport, it cannot allow events on South African soil to become platforms for what he calls the sanitization and legitimization of genocidal regimes. That's powerful language, and it reflects a growing call in many parts of the world for boycotts, divestment, and sanctions, also known as the BDS movement, against Israel. Now, to be clear, not everyone agrees with the EFF stance. Critics of the protest argue that sport should remain separate from politics, and that excluding athletes based on their nationality risks punishing individuals for the actions of their governments. There's also a counter-argument that sports can serve as a bridge for dialogue, rather than a battlefield for global grievances. But for the EFF and its supporters, silence in the face of injustice is complicity. It's worth remembering that South Africa itself was once excluded from global sports for its apartheid policies. During the 1980s, international sports boycotts played a significant role in pressuring the regime to reform. Twala and others believe it's now South Africa's turn to take a principled stand, this time against Israeli apartheid. Furthermore, this protest speaks to a broader resurgence of political activism in South African civil society. The issue of Palestine has long resonated with South Africans, particularly among those who see parallels between the occupation of Palestinian territories and the history of Bantustans, forced removals, and racial segregation. And in this moment, with the ICJ ruling fresh in the public mind, the EFF's protest is tapping into a national mood that is increasingly impatient with the status quo, both locally and internationally. Twala concluded his remarks with a firm declaration: the EFF's support for Palestine is not seasonal or trendy. It's not a bandwagon they've jumped on because it's politically convenient. Instead, it's rooted in what he described as a shared history of resistance against occupation and colonial violence. He promised that the party would continue to mobilize, campaign, and raise awareness through every available mechanism to oppose Israeli apartheid. So what's next? Will the Comrades Marathon Association respond to the EFF's demands? Will there be official government statements about the participation of Israeli nationals in South African sports events? And what does this moment say about the direction of South Africa's foreign policy and its internal political dynamics heading into a volatile global era? Only time will tell, but what's clear is this: the intersection of sport and politics is alive and well in South Africa. And as long as global injustices persist, platforms like the Comrades Marathon will continue to be stages not just for athletic excellence, but also for political expression. If you found this video informative, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment below. We want to hear your thoughts. Should Israeli athletes be banned from participating in events like the Comrades Marathon? Is this a powerful act of solidarity, or an unfair politicization of sport? Let's talk about it in the comments. Thanks for watching, and as always, stay informed, stay engaged, and see you next time.